Warning. Your following movie rental may contain spoilers, subjects, opinions, and language not suitable for all audiences, and is intended for entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. Thank you for choosing us as your go-to for entertainment. And remember, be kind, rewind.
Good evening, audience. Welcome to Movie Rantels, the show where two unqualified nerds deconstruct a piece of cinema that spent more money in catering than we will ever see in our lifetimes. My name is Michael. I'll be your host. Joining me is a good friend of mine, and a man who totally doesn't sleep with a Quentin Tarantino body pillow, Eli.
You said you'd never talk about that. No, shut it down. Cancel the stream.
Shut it down.
I will not be dealing with this. I'm so.
The best part about it is you turn it over and he's in a suggestive pose. It's great. Ooh. Thank you all for meandering across our little show. It means a lot to us.
Apologies to Quentin Tarantino.
Apologies to Quentin Tarantino and anyone else who might be listening. Tonight, we're going to rant about a reinvented classic, Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh. Yes. Sorry, that sounded a little too erotic.
Well, I mean, Poirot's mustache will do that to a man. I'm not going to lie.
That is one epic stash, sir. One epic stash. Worn beautifully by Kenneth Branagh.
Yes. It was a fun little thing doing some research on this. Apparently, some really hardcore Agatha Christie fans had some problems with his mustache.
Oh.
Yep. And they were like, it's not like what's-his-faces from the 1975 version of this movie.
Albert Finney. Earlier, I have misquoted and say that it was Peter Ustinov. And while Peter Ustinov did play in Evil Under the Sun and Death on the Nile, he was not in Murder on the Orient Express. The original Murder on the Orient Express was Albert Finney. And then later, by an actor whose name escapes me in a BBC made-for-TV series later in the 70s, I want to say. I don't know, 80s? Something like that. Or the 90s.
80s and 90s, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one I used to watch when there was nothing else on TV back in the day. Back when we only had 4 channels.
And there was nothing on.
ABC. And there was nothing on. And then we got DirecTV and we had 1,000 channels. And still nothing.
Yep. True.
So getting back to the movie.
You Zoomers are so spoiled today.
I know, right? You've always had the internet.
Always.
Can't tell you how much of a crazy thing that is.
God, remember when it was nothing but Flash videos and just, weird GIFs?
Yep. Badger, mushroom.
Mushroom.
Narwhals.
Toon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Ah, the golden age.
Getting nostalgic. Anyway, speaking of nostalgic, back to the movie.
Yeah, back to this. So the movie starts in Jerusalem in 1934, and we get our first look at Poirot, and he is bewitched by a couple of hard-boiled eggs.
Bewitched is the word.
Yeah, probably not. Befuddled, maybe. So you really get the idea that he's got some OCD, and that's like the new, we want. It's not new, but Branagh really wants you to know this guy has got some serious OCD.
Yes, it actually. I mean, yeah, I could absolutely gush about the whole thing of the OCD. I'm pretty sure that is an original from the book. Don't quote me on it, but and I mean, Agatha Christie for the time and everything, but I think it really serves the theme and what he will later admit to how that works and why he's so obsessive compulsive. Really serves into the greater theme and, shall we say, the moral conundrum of the story, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But
Right.
yeah.
You know, so we get to see him in Jerusalem at the fucking. He steps in a pile of dung and he has to step his other shoe into it just so that they're both equally marred in poo. Oh man, there's something like the performance of Eric Branagh. I mean, he goes all in. Like that's 100% from him in this movie, and then I definitely get that from him. Like he's just going. He balls to the wall.
Going ham.
And, you know, and he played Shakespeare, right? He did a bunch of
before
movie adaptions.
Yeah. Kenneth Branagh's big claim to fame back in the day was that he wanted to basically be this actor, director whose whole career for a while was nothing but Shakespeare. He wanted to adapt all the Shakespeare classics. And he has one amazing adaptation of Hamlet under his belt, and that, you know, it's like 6 hours long. It has countless stars in it, including, like, you know, Robin Williams. I think Billy Crystal's in there. Derek Jacobi, who's also in Murder on the Orient Express. Yep. And a lot of others whose name escapes me. But on an interesting note, following his Shakespeare career, the only other thing that other thing in his career that really jumps out at me before embarking on this Agatha Christie cinematic universe that he's clearly trying to push really hard is he was involved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU. He was the director of the first Thor movie. Believe it or not. And I think he directed another relatively recent movie which name escapes me, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like he gives that passion that he did for Shakespeare. He's giving the Agatha Christie universe that same sort of attention.
And that same, like, sort of theatrical gusto and passion. Like, there's some scenes in this movie that are just they're beautifully both over the top, hammy and cheesy, but also just passionate. You can tell there's just screaming passion the whole way through, and it's interesting how he walks the line between heartfelt and sincere and almost cartoonish, and he just barely makes it, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, and like my first viewing of this, I don't know if I was kind of lost. Like I wasn't ready for what I was about to watch. Second time through, I actually finished it today. I really feel like this is a lot of Branagh in this movie. Like there is a lot of him, and not a lot of time for murders on the Orient Express. I don't know. You loved it apparently, just from the what I'm getting from it. I don't know. I kind of have a bit of a problem with this movie.
Yeah, I can totally see that, because there did seem to be an abnormal amount of screen time that was really just dedicated to showing how off kilter and quirky that Poirot is, and and I think that in the previous versions that I've seen, they downplayed that a little bit. And there was only one scene or one moment in particular that it actually bothered me, because there's this montage. I'm going to call it a montage in the middle of the movie where it was going through the interviews that he was giving to the individual passengers, and some of them just went by so freaking fast. Like some of them were almost skimmed over. There was no introduction to the scene. There was no closing to those scenes. It was taking you through like a highlight, like a series of highlights of their conversations. Like the most like important character sound bites. Now, in film, you can argue that that's the point. In film, you can argue that's the point. But when you have so many of these sort of lingering, longing moments, like of him, like crying over his lost love, or just watching out the window on the train ride, in some cases,
right? And
there's one shot there that I did love, just for picture aesthetic reasons. It reminded me a lot of the frame from Spirited Away of Chihiro on the train, where he's talking and you can see his reflection. Like, it's just the way, the angle that they get with his reflection in the window that I absolutely adored. There's a lot
of shots in this movie I thought were fantastic. Like, mechanically, this movie is
top
a masterpiece. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm not going to say anything bad about the crew and the production. Like, it was an amazing spectacle.
Yeah.
And the camera work is so good.
Yeah. But there is
especially on the train itself.
Oh, definitely. But there is a little bit of a pacing issue, I feel, that and a lot of it is highlighted by the Poirot versus the rest of the actors.
Right.
Though I will say, I'm not. It's another one of those things. Like, I don't know if that's a failing on Branagh's side, or if that's a failing of the book, because based on a book, and the book is so fixated in Poirot because Poirot is essentially the point of view character. You can't help but be with him for the entire thing. But like. Now, with movies it's different. You could completely change that. And I think that it didn't, for the most part, with the exception of a couple moments and a couple of scenes, there wasn't too much divulgence into the idea of getting inside Poirot's head, or at least being stuck in his own ego. I think that was the problem. There was one line where the ego thing really bothered me at all, and it's one line that if you cut it, I think I wouldn't have had a problem with it at all, which was only two people will know only two will know, God and me. Like, when that line hit, I was like, no, that you crossed the line into narcissism right there.
Right.
Cut that line. But other than that, it would have been.
Along those lines, there's a moment in the beginning of the movie when he's talking, like after he cracked the whole missing jeweled cross thingy, and fingered the chief of police or whatever, the captain there,
and took him out with his fucking boss.
Took him out with his fucking cane. It's like he puts the cane in there, tells the dude to go to the front gate, and then like he's this omniscient being, and he's just like this is the man, he did it. And then the captain goes running, goes to the front gate. The guard stops him. He runs back and didn't realize there was a cane in the wall and got clotheslined. And I was just kind of like,
what?
I'm like, what the fuck? Poirot is a fucking psychic or something. Like, they're trying to psych him up like, this is Poirot, he's the world's greatest detective. Like, no shit, he's this good.
Yeah, another line I feel should have been cut. If the character has to say, I'm the greatest detective in the world, no. Like,
I don't know. It feels like that's something Poirot would say, like.
That's fair.
Of all the lines that Poirot had this entire movie, I'm like, yeah, he's the world's greatest detective.
Yeah.
I mean, he might as well be, because he's the only detective there right now. So,
right.
But after he does all that shenanigan, he's sitting there staring off into the sunset, and this other officer comes up, and it's like, he kind of gives his rationale, like, I see into a man's heart, and it's, most of the time it is suffering to be this good at my job. you know. And it's like, well, I get it. If you were someone who completely can analyze someone top to bottom, I'm sure your friends list is very short.
Very short.
Like, how many people are going to understand you on an emotional level? Probably very few. And I get that. Like, there's this tragicness to Poirot that I get.
Right.
And then they just keep on, layering that on. And it's like, okay, all right, yes. But, like, when he's seeing there and he's like, you hear him talking to this guy, and, like, we hear this choir music going on in the background, and the guy's like, oh my God, you see, like, right into their hearts and discern their true nature. You must be some sort of angel. And I'm just like, oh, come on.
No.
Branagh, stop stroking your dick. Like,
Branagh, stop stroking your dick.
It's like, you have OCD and a keen eye. You're not Jesus. Like, calm down.
Again, not sure if that is the writing of the book or Branagh's addition to it. Although I will say, I like it at least that when those moments, because I do feel like a lot of moments what they was trying to paint it as, everyone else sees him as this, greatest detective. Oh my God, he's amazing. But when it gets right down to it, like, he's like looking at them and almost, sadly saying, like, no, I just have like I just am that obsessive. I'm just that obsessive.
Yeah.
And that frigging like
that anal
about everything that I can't help but see all this. I can't help but figure it out. And that's like,
right.
It's the only job that I could do. Like, it's the only
right.
job
You can't see this man in a 9 to 5.
Hell no. He's
would
dying for a vacation. He would just love to just, sit on this train and read fucking Charles Dickens. Like, he's like
these little scenes with him. Oh, Dickens. Oh.
Dickens.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, like, which I find kind of fucked up that he's reading Tale of Two Cities and laughing. You notice that, right? Like, he's reading A Tale of Two Cities. And I don't know if you've...
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's been since either of us read that book. I don't know.
I don't think I've ever read that book, but
I don't think
I'm uncultured, apparently.
It's okay. I mean, let's face it. I don't think we were required to read a lot of Dickens in school, honestly.
Yeah, Dickens hasn't aged well.
Okay. Half of his work hasn't aged well. Half of his work hasn't aged well. The two that everyone knows of is, Christmas Carol and Oliver Twist. But, like, when you look at like things like Bleak House, Little Dorrit, Tale of Two Cities, like, he has some really good shit in there. But anyway, that's a whole other thing.
It's a whole other thing.
But shit. What was I?
So maybe let's go over some of the other characters. We've ragged on Poirot enough. Let's.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So the first person that you really get to see, who the first character you get introduced to is Book. I fucking love Book.
Mm. Yes. Isn't he the guy that
He's the train director.
The train director.
Yeah.
I literally am so rich I could just give you these tickets and it's it's totally fine in the middle. I could just
Yeah. Well, his father owns the train, right? So and Book, all he gets to do is travel on a train all day, get drunk, and fuck bitches. That's his life.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The first scene, he comes in, and the first line out of this beautiful man's mouth is, do you think you could find us a place where we could have a private argument, say about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll come to an agreement? Or at least I will anyway. And I'm just like, this man is a treasure. I fucking,
He is too. Like, it's funny. Earlier, you were mentioning how, like, how Poirot probably most likely does not have very many friends. I love how he manages to be friends with this one guy, admitting how freaking despicable he is, and still just being totally okay with him. It's just like he's almost laughing and mocking him with him. Like,
he's like, "You're despicable." And he's like, "I know, isn't it great?"
He's like,
he doesn't have to hide anything for Poirot, and he doesn't care. Yeah. Poirot could know his greatest, deepest secrets, and he's like, "Yeah, whatever. I'm not. They're not secrets, really. I mean,
you wear it on your face." Which, by the way, that's a good segue into another character. If you don't mind me.
Go for it.
For the little time that our murder victim, Johnny Depp, is there, damn, he was beautifully hateable. But
just purely despicable, but really great.
I loved how in the scene with him, they almost again calling back to the OCD as it pertains to the theme, where he mentioned, I love there was that small mentions of like how I noticed the imperfections, like the nose on the face, and in the end of the amalgamation of the whole argument he has with Johnny's character that just wants his protection. He's like, no, and he's like, what? You think I'm despicable? You think I'm a terrible person? He's like, no, it's much more personal than that. I just don't like your face. Like, yeah, and I was like, huh, and I was like, interesting detail how they put like this scar on his eyebrow. I don't know if that's a scar that Johnny
scar on his
has,
eyebrow and on his cheek. But yeah, he's getting this rough and tumble face. And yeah, like you said back at the beginning, he's like, I see the world for only how it should be, and when there's an imperfection, it stands out like the nose in the middle of a face.
It's kind of beautiful how he's like. It's beautiful how he didn't even know the guy. He didn't even know whether or not he was actually evil or not, or if he was just, whatever. But he didn't care. Like, that wasn't the point. Like, he's just like, no, it's literally just that your face just disturbs me. Like, you're despicable. You're despicable. You have an imperfect face, and it disturbs me. Like,
yeah, and I don't think that's the only reason. I mean, the guy is obviously a crook, right? Like,
definitely.
He's not going to get. And he's not going to get mixed up with a mafioso or this guy who is a con man. He's like, I'm not gonna bother with that.
Yeah.
But like, they pull the gun on him, and he's just like, no, I don't give a shit. Shoot me.
Shoot me. I don't care.
Fucking do it. Like, no balls. And he calls him out. And the guy's just like, well, yeah, all right, I guess. Like, I pull a gun on you and you still say no?
Nobody has balls like Poirot.
No, I don't give a shit.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So, okay, so moving on through the other members of the cast. Oh, gosh. I don't have a bad thing
Daisy
to say.
Ridley.
Yeah, Daisy. Holy shit, Daisy Ridley. Dude.
So Daisy Ridley, I feel like, did a perfectly adequate job. She was handed for what she was given. I think she did really well.
Yeah, which was what, 2.5 scenes?
2.5 scenes.
2.5 scenes.
And every one of them is with Branagh there.
Yeah, Branagh, and partially with Leslie Odom Jr. Which also, oh my gosh, Leslie Odom Jr. I could literally just say react that way to every single actor on this freaking list. Like, Penelope Cruz, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Penelope Cruz, you were given 4 lines. Michelle Pfeiffer, you were
Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah.
Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah, Judi Dench as the princess who was there for all of 5 seconds. And like, that's the thing. There's so many. Willem fucking Dafoe.
Dafoe got probably the most scenes out of all of them because he had ever so slightly little bit of a character arc. because he had to be like, he basically was revealed to be like, basically two different people.
Yeah. Penelope Cruz is religious, I guess.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I'm totally I'm seeing it, and I'm totally relating with you here. It's like you have like an A-list cast, fucking A-list, like top of the A-list, who are basically all there to give absolutely 100% effort to characters that have literally no fucking time to shine. Like, you know how they say in show business there's no such thing as small parts, only small actors? This is a fucking testament to that, because they literally have basically about the length of a television pilot. Really. I mean, not even like, they have a grand total of maybe 20 minutes of screen time, an hour between all of them.
Yeah.
And
Michelle Pfeiffer gets quite a bit of that time.
Which I mean ought to be,
ought to be. I mean, and her transformation at the end, you're just like, wow, so awesome. So good. I mean, like, I got a little teary-eyed at the end there. And like, this is completely ridiculous, and I think this is kind of dumb, but good job, man.
Yeah.
That was
that
was a scene to get through.
Speaking of which, is there anything else you want to touch upon before we get to that scene? That scene.
What that scene?
The freaking. In every whodunit, you would probably call this the reveal scene, the big reveal scene.
Oh yeah,
where everybody gets together and the detective, spills out the entire thing for you. Now, again, because I have a special name for this particular scene in this movie, but if you want to get anything before that,
let's kind of, we still have a whole movie before we get there.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, and so, we have these characters stuck on a train together, and like, this is a really good premise.
Oh yeah.
Right? You have A-list actors, you have this tension on this train. Johnny Depp gets killed, and that scene right after they find out he's dead, that overhead shot.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Is so good.
Back on the aesthetics and that camera work, just that whole top-down experience was just
right. And then like, as they move across to the other room, and you just pass over the wall, like you just pass over it, and you're still with them. That whole long take is so good. I really like that. Like, I saw some reviews about this movie that was pretty much like, this is just Branagh just stroking his ego for an hour and 53 minutes. I definitely see that. Like, there is a lot of him and not a lot of murder mystery. But like, God damn, whenever he's with any of these characters, the scene is just so good. Like, their interactions are what you would expect from A-list actors. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But so let's go on. So he goes around, like you said, like this little montage of like, and nothing makes sense, right? Like, everything is everyone's lying, and it starts really like wearing on him emotionally. And that's when you see him like go back to his picture of his wife, and he's just like, oh, this case is so tragic. Oh. And
yeah,
like, I get it.
All right, so about that, I mean, comparing to this, I I was actually talking with my mother about Knives Out, for example, to bring this back a little bit full circle to our last episode. I was talking about Knives Out, particularly the opening 10 minutes, which plays out a lot like almost a lot like a mockumentary almost, just the way that it's framed. And what I took from it was, oh my gosh, all of these freaking characters are despicable pieces of shit because they're lying through their teeth. Not one thing they're saying about their story makes sense. But then my mother pointed out, well, here's the thing. The truth they tell is about the people that aren't them. They tell something the truth about all the people that aren't themselves.
Yeah.
And I was like, and with that in mind, watching Murder on the Orient Express, there was something interestingly different. Again, this is probably more back to Agatha Christie, where the lies and the truth. I mean, now knowing that we know what the truth is, it's like they're interestingly they're not completely detached or I don't know how exactly to express this one here.
Yeah, they're not all lying.
They're not misrepresenting their characters. They're not misrepresenting their character the way that Knives Out really was. They weren't trying to misrepresent their character. They were representing their characters, but I can't really get into it without revealing the whole conceit of the whole movie, which, by the way, I have to say is probably a little bit of something that needs to be taken into consideration with the fact that so much of the movie is completely focused around Poirot and not the rest of the members on the train.
Right.
And it's because of
if
that
you're looking,
reveal.
Yes.
It has to be through his point of view because literally every person on that train is a liar and is culpable. Words. Words. I do not.
Yeah, they're all they're all in on it, right? They're all the murderer.
Yeah.
Which, as far as a plot twist goes, that's for a whodunit. It's like, oh wow, everyone did it.
Everyone did it. And I have to say, when that reveal and everything came around and came about, I thought to myself as I was watching the reveal scene, in particular, I was thinking, damn, wouldn't this be a freaking amazing? And I'm sure it already exists, but I'm like, I would fucking love.
Production?
Yeah, I would love to see this on stage. This would be a freaking amazing stage production if you had the right the right script adaptation, the right set, and everything. This would be freaking amazing. This would be.
It had to have been done before. Oh, right?
Definitely.
The story's old enough.
Yeah, definitely. I'm
gonna go. So let's talk about that ending, right?
Okay.
So this whole let's preface with this. This whole the first time I watched this movie, I'm sitting here looking for something like Knives Out, because I definitely saw that before I watched this movie. And I'm like, I'm wanting to see this murder mystery get unraveled, but that's not really what this movie is.
It was more like a knotless
This movie,
tide.
Yeah, this movie is more about Poirot's view on the world and his idea of justice being challenged. In the beginning of the movie, he says pretty much that justice is either black or it's white, right? You're either innocent or you're guilty, and there is no gray area. And he sees truth and lies, and that's it. And through his experience with interviewing everyone here and seeing them lie for each other, and then finally at the end, it clicks. He's like, oh my God, not one of you is the murderer. You're all the murderer. None of you are killers individually. but together you have committed this crime. And, that really shakes him.
Yeah.
And that reveal really was a powerful moment for him. Kind of for like the rest of the audience and everyone sitting there is kind of like, okay, cool.
Well,
you figured it out. Why are you so broken up about it? Like, that was like my first reaction to it. I'm like, okay, cool. You figured it out. Like, why are you freaking out about it? But yeah, like you were saying, this isn't just like a simple, cut and dry murder mystery. This is a character study of Poirot almost.
It's a character study, but I feel like, especially considering the time that it was written and the time that it was made, the original book.
Right. Oh no, this would have rocked my socks back in the day.
Oh yeah, and I think that we kind of take for granted really that today the idea of moral grayness is so it is really now so entrenched in us as, implicit and entrenched in us as people that we kind of forget that that's not how the world has been for the past 50, 70, hundreds of years. The idea of moral black and white is so entrenched in our society and how we view justice. Like Poirot, and in fact, that's what fictional characters are supposed to represent. That's what the idea of the detective is supposed to be. It is that kind of moral black and whiteness. But when Poirot seemed to have come at a time when essentially the reality of murder and the reality of crime really is that even the perpetrator is not a victim, basically. There was kind of like it was beautifully playing with the theme of like how where he sees everything as imperfections, the black, again, just supporting the black and white mentality. And when he's confronted with this, like, I can't quote him verbatim, but there was just something beautiful about how he was basically saying, like, yeah, you're all killers, not one of you individually, but all of you are. But it was also more like it was because of a murder that was committed. Like, murder isn't something that stops when the victim is dead. It spills out into all of the people that victim has touched, and it poisons people in such a like a spread out way that of course it will drive. That's the kind of thing that drives people to kill. It
drives good people to crime.
Crime. Yeah, and like. For the for the time and hell, even for the fact that 100 years later we're still adapting the story, that's fucking beautiful. And
right
and that scene, which I'll gush about for just a moment here, it's the reveal scene, but with the way that Branagh staged it. And I'm blaming this on Branagh because I'm almost certain this was not done in the original movie. I'm almost even more sure that it wasn't in the book. But oh my God, I'm gonna call it the Last Supper scene because that fucking
absolutely. That's the first thing that popped in my head when I saw them all lined up like that.
And the beautiful
and
part,
that comes back to this whole like deification of the detective. Like, that's the thing that I think put me off about this movie so much was not only is, Poirot is a tragic dude. Okay, I'll get that. He has loved and lost, and he has a hard time making friends. And like, I really get, okay, I can get behind that guy. And then suddenly the choir starts.
Yeah.
And the angels depart or descend from heaven, and he starts drinking their tears.
So that's totally Branagh, but I don't know if it's Branagh being aggrandizing, but it's Branagh being theatrical. That's just
And that brings me to my next point.
Yeah.
The theatrics. This, if you look at this from the perspective of one of his adaptations of Shakespeare, this movie makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the end when he's, he's doing the big reveal.
You have to say that to me, as speaking as an actor, I loved it. That whole speech, the absolute gusto he was bringing. You could tell that he was. I'm not even sure if they did this outdoors, but if he was, I believe it, because you could tell that he was like projecting and putting all of that emotion in every take that he had out there.
Yeah,
like,
I was waiting for him to turn to the camera and just start soliloquying. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so another bit about that whole scene, story-wise, another little tidbit, like, yeah, the Last Supper frame, blah, blah, blah. Interestingly enough, who the one character who's more or less revealed to be the particular perpetrator, like not, they're all guilty and they're all part of the murder and they all took part in it. By the way, that montage scene of them all taking a turn stabbing Depp's character, fucking loved that. I did love that. That was the slow motion just showing the pain in their faces as like what it took to force them to do that. Just beautifully illustrated.
Cheesy as hell, but
yeah,
I appreciate it.
And but if you think about it, like, the person who's more or less the culprit, I'm putting that, I say that in air quotes, is Michelle Pfeiffer's character, who just happens to be sitting where Jesus was sitting in the Last Supper. She's at the center of the table. And
she was about to sacrifice herself too. She's like, "Take me. It was my plan."
Yeah, which, by the way, that was another little bit of contention, I think, between my mother and I both watched this together. My mom's a big Agatha Christie fan. We had to watch this together. And she too had an issue, like, with the whole ego thing. Like, she interpreted that scene, right, as him being suicidal because he just wanted to be with his love. And I could see that. Like, I could totally see that interpretation. The way I saw it, though, was when he basically put the gun on the table and said, "I'm going to tell because I can't help myself.
That's my job.
That's my job.
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't, I can't help myself. So you have to kill me." When he does that, I don't think that he was doing it to kill himself, obviously, because the gun wasn't loaded.
Right. But he just wanted to see how far she was willing to go to keep this under wraps, or to, like, sacrifice herself to the others.
Because, well, I think it was more specifically because I think the thing is, the way I interpret it was he did not want to take responsibility for having to choose any of them or all of them to go to jail. So, or to sacrifice any of them to the police. So, in order to make the decision for himself, he figured, if one of them pulls the gun on me, then they'll be the one that I, can ease my conscience by submitting them to the justice system.
Right.
And instead of what he thought they would do, where one of them would take the gun and shoot him, they shot themselves, which all the more cements it as, you can't avoid that. You can't avoid that choice. You can't avoid that responsibility. And so in the end, it pains him all the more to basically tell them, like, well, there is no black and white here. None of you are evil. Not really. And all I see are a bunch of people who deserve a chance to heal. And I will keep that to myself. You're free to go, and he has to grapple with that himself. Like, I almost see it like as a big, huge character flaw. I almost see it as essentially an admit of defeat and almost a selfish act, like a really selfish act. Like, one of you needs to, be the goat. One of you needs to be the sacrificial goat so that I can use my conscience. I mean,
sure.
I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. And like what I was saying, we're getting out of it, like I think he wanted to see how far they were willing to go. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he was definitely surprised that Michelle Pfeiffer's character chose to shoot herself and not him. That kind of threw him off, like, oh my God. Like, she is totally devoted to this plan and totally devoted to the other's well-being.
Yeah.
How can I then say these people are evil and that she is evil if she's willing to sacrifice herself for their well-being? In the beginning of the movie, or I guess after Johnny Depp gets murdered, he says, he equates murderers and criminals to beasts, something that's inhuman. And now he's staring in the face of people who did commit a crime, but they're not animals.
Yep.
They have souls. And he's just like, I don't know what to do with this information, really. Like, he really had to process it. And like that part of the movie I find incredibly uplifting. It's like a very satisfying end. Like, yeah, this character had development, and like the movie, in my opinion, started strong.
Mm-hmm.
Branagh was a little much, but okay. And then he ended on such a flourish that I was just like, I kind of like this movie. Like, it's not my favorite movie,
right?
But like, I get it,
right?
And I get people's criticism that he's taking this, I don't know, too personally, or he's making it too much about himself, like Branagh himself instead of Poirot the character. But I mean, we have another movie on the way.
That's right. Death on the Nile.
Yeah.
Yeah, Death on the Nile coming.
With, there's Gal, how do you say her name? Gal Gadot? Gadot?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I've only seen it read. I haven't heard it said. God.
I think it's Godot. I think
okay. I hope so.
I think it's Godot.
And a whole bevy of other big name actors again.
Yeah.
He has a whole monologue during the trailer, and like, wow, are we gonna see even more crazy shenanigans from Poirot? Like more giant soliloquies and huge reveal moments? Like I don't know. Are they gonna? And they're going for this whole like over the top production, on a boat. So he was on a train and someone got murdered, and now he's on a boat and someone gets murdered. The next one's going to be on a train, right? Or on a plane. He's going to be on a...
I think, okay, like, so that'd be hilarious. But no, I think that if it follows, if Kenneth Branagh is even able to make a third, which I really hope he does, and my hope that the third will end up being Evil Under the Sun. That's just my favorite Poirot mystery, personally, and a lot of that has to do with Sir Peter Ustinov and his portrayal of Hercule Poirot, but and also the cast of that movie was pretty top notch too. But essentially, it would be a good way to close the trilogy, because while it wouldn't be particularly book accurate, Evil Under the Sun would technically give him the vacation that he's yearning for in the first movie, and therefore the second movie. With its own Poirot twist, where it's like it's a vacation, but it's not a vacation. Like,
but also murder.
But also murder, yeah. Because Evil Under the Sun basically takes place on an island. It takes place on an island in a resort, where some woman is killed on the beach in like a really strange like a cave off the side of the island. Basically, the island has like these. It doesn't have like just a particular or just a typical beach. It has like these cliffs. It has these freaking cliffs, and in the midst of the cliffs are like the little caves, and somebody kills a woman and hides her body in the cave. So yeah. Also with also them being period pieces and everything. I know. I think it'd be interesting. I hope that Branagh's able to continue. Despite times being what they are and all that. Hopefully like
and
HBO Max or something will pick him up because
right, and just all the critics out there. Or Murder on the Orient Express has a Metacritic score of like 52 or something like that. It got really panned.
Yeah, that's kind of unfair though. Like, I feel
and
like
it's Metacritic too, so I don't know. And like that's the fan, the audience rating of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it like, is he too over the top, or is this style of story not resonating with people? It obviously resonated at the box office because we're getting a sequel. So
either that
someone thinks it's a success.
See, yeah, either that. I'm not so sure because Branagh's whole thing, like he's pretty much a how do they say it? He's a force unto himself. If he really is, especially like he literally created a production company so that he could finish all of his Shakespeare adaptations. Of course, he didn't finish every Shakespeare. Like he wanted to like do every single Shakespeare play as adapted into a movie. He didn't get
lofty.
He didn't get too lofty. Like he tried, like he really tried, and he always had A-list cast. He clearly has great relationships with all the right people in the right places. And he'll keep this train going as long as the star power will be there, and they'll show up because he has a little bit of a he definitely has a reputation in terms of acting chops. He definitely has that kind of rep where I think it could carry them. If the A-list cast is willing to follow him into production, I'm more than certain we will. You can bet your ass he'll finish a production. So, but that's just me being hopeful. I'm crossing my fingers. I really do. I really do like this. I like this take on Poirot mostly because it's refreshing to see the kind of like cinematic universe attempt, I suppose, and I'm putting that in the biggest air quotes possible. But I'm glad to see that like the cinematic universe thing is not being regulated to just comic book characters, superheroes.
Yeah,
which I love them. I love superhero movies. I'll never get tired of them as long as they're good. As long as they're well written. But it's nice to see that they're trying to bring back like the other old classics that were in many ways just as popular, almost in the same respects, in the same ways as comic books. Hell, I would love to see. Sad thing is, I really wish that Universal would have got their head out of their ass and made
the monster movies.
Because I would have loved to have seen if they actually gave a shit about making good movies.
Right. Like, instead of just copying, we need the Avengers, except with Wolfman
and the Mummy and Frankenstein and Dracula. Like, no, dude, just make good movies. Like, hell, if you just put your money and get like good A-list directors and writers on your side and say, look, just give us a really good version of these classic stories, and we just want to, you know, string them together somehow, like, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and like pay homage to the golden age of horror film, and also pay a little bit more homage to the book. I mean, it worked for Bram Stoker's Dracula, you know, and well, okay, with some caveats. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein also, which nobody remembers, by the way.
Didn't Branagh direct Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the good one back in the day?
Oh shit! I don't know. You need to Google it.
Oh my god, I am Googling the shit out of that.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was.
I'd say Eric Branagh. It's Kenneth Branagh.
I was gonna say Kenneth. I was gonna correct you earlier, but I was like,
He said it with such conviction.
You said it with such conviction. Like, everyone will know what you're talking about. Kenneth, beautiful Kenneth.
Director. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, 1994.
With Robert De Niro.
Yes.
With Robert De Niro as Frankenstein's monster. Yeah, Kenneth Branagh directed it.
Wait, Robert De Niro was the monster?
Yes, Robert De Niro was the monster. I shit you not.
Oh my god. Hey, Frankenstein's monster. Yeah.
That sounds like a future episode. That sounds like that needs to be a future episode.
That sounds like a future episode indeed. Oh my god.
Oh, shit.
All right, so last words on The Orient Express.
Yes. You want to go first?
Sure. Fantastic movie. Took itself probably a little too seriously, but otherwise I think it's a perfectly fine movie. I think it wasn't as two-dimensional as I thought it was on my first viewing, but I don't know, not my thing.
That's fair. Yeah, and in my opinion, filmmaking wise, it has some of the best material. Sorry, words. I need to compose. Okay, aesthetically, it has some of the best camera work that I've seen in a long time. The directing, I think the directing was pretty top notch. Script could have maybe used a little bit of a rewrite. Overall, I think it's a wonderful experience, and I don't think it deserves the panning,
the amount of flack that it got. Yeah,
I don't think it did at all. Especially if you're a theatrical person, if you're an actor, if you have an appreciation for the theatrics, and you don't need your films to be
dark and gritty,
or
directed by Christopher Nolan.
Like if you are okay, if you appreciate a flair for the theatric and a heightened a heightened a heightened flair for the theatric words. If you have them? Yeah, if you enjoy and appreciate that kind of heightened acting, then I think
stage theatrics, stage plays.
Yeah, if you can enjoy that style, then honestly,
this is a movie for you.
Oh, this is definitely the movie for you. This is yeah. So some of the best. Certainly some of the best Oscar bait in the last few years in terms of best actor. I don't even think, did Kenneth win at all for this? I don't think he did.
I don't know. Let's consult the great oracle that is IMDb.
Sorry, the Age of Empires thing.
It won No, it was a nominee for Best Director, nominee for Best Thriller Film, and a nominee for the Alliance of Women in Film Journalists, sequel or remake that shouldn't have been made. Oh, God.
Ooh.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, the shade.
God.
Oh, the shade.
Damn.
Ugh. Yeah, see, you know what? You must... I'm going off script here, and I'm going, not that we had a script, but I'm going ham right now. Y'all motherfuckers complained that shouldn't have been remade. You know what's getting remade right now? Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
Suck
God.
on that, why don't you?
Oh, God.
Wizard of Oz is getting remade, and you guys are complaining about Murder on the Orient Express. You know what? That kind of stuff needed a makeover, okay? That stuff, I'm okay with them readapting a classic that hasn't been touched in 50 freaking years, okay? I'm okay with that. Wizard of Oz is longer. I understand Wizard of Oz is longer ago, but
it
Murder
doesn't
on the
need
Orient
it.
Express with Albert Finney is not the Wizard of Oz with Judy motherfucking Garland and Burt Lahr and Jackie Haley.
Oh, God.
And
We've triggered him, folks.
oh,
he's
you have
triggered.
no idea. I'm sorry. I don't know how we got here or how we brought this up, but I'm mad. You're getting some nerd rage right now, okay? You don't. You complain about that, but yet we got Wizard of Oz coming down the pike. Interestingly enough, little tiny side thing. For some, I've been seeing quite a couple of articles about apparently video game adaptations are now back in the swing in terms of production for some reason. I've seen two.
I mean, we had Sonic, we had Pokemon, we had...
The only good video game adaptation I've seen thus far is the Castlevania series. Fucking amazing. I love it to death. But the two that I see in development, and technically The Witcher, but that was a book series.
That's Netflix.
It's Netflix, but it was a book series before it was a book series before it was video games. But yeah, no, the two that are in the news right now are Borderlands because Jack Black got cast in it, and
Yep.
The Last of Us. The Last of Us adaptation because
God.
Oh yeah, because they cast someone from Game of Thrones in it. That's why. They cast their Ellie.
It wasn't even good enough to be a video game. Much less a movie. God, we don't need it. Oh man. Oh.
I would say personally.
Oh, with that.
Personally,
strikingly bad news.
Personally, I much rather have like a Metal Gear Solid television series than
oh my God! Don't even. It doesn't even need it. No.
I'm not saying it needs
there's
it.
certain.
I'm not saying it needs to exist, but I'm saying if I had to choose between The Last of Us being made and the Metal Gear Solid series
and
being
Metal Gear
made,
Solid, yeah,
or Uncharted,
No, sure.
Uncharted, which has been in development hell for freaking ever, like. And
we had
Ryan
an Uncharted
Reynolds.
movie. It was the Mummy with what's his face.
But this one was with the original branding, though. Yeah, you're thinking of Brendan Fraser. The funny thing is
that's the name.
Brendan Fraser. The funny thing is that the last I heard of Uncharted, they supposedly got Ryan Reynolds as the lead, which still would have been not a good movie, but an enjoyable movie. At least for his performance.
I was thinking the guy who played Mal in Firefly. Oh, goodness. Names are not working for me today.
Alan Baldwin?
No, Firefly. Baldwin.
No, there's a Baldwin. It's just not Alec.
Yeah, it's just not.
Greg? Is it Greg Baldwin?
No. Well, yes, there is a Baldwin in the movie. I'm talking about Nathan Fillion.
Oh, Nathan Fill. Yeah, no. Okay, yeah, no. That would be perfect casting. Yeah, I'll shut my whore mouth. I'll shut my whore mouth for Nathan.
On that
Fillion.
note, thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
Thank you for enduring us tonight. Thank you for enduring us.
So you know what to do. Like, subscribe, hit that bell so you're notified whenever we put out one of these crazy videos. Also, what's your opinion on Orient Express or how hot Nathan Fillion is? I mean, what?
And maybe leave us a comment on what you want to see us review next.
Yes, that. Yes.
Although I'm partial to the Nathan Fillion question. I mean,
it's
Nathan Fillion.
It isn't a question. It's
not a
yes.
question.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for listening. Good night.
Good night.